Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering a mountain of gold beneath your backyard. Would you instantly become rich? Most of us would say yes, but history has given a very different answer, again and again. One empire possessed more gold and silver than any other nation on Earth. Treasure fleets arrived one after another. Royal vaults overflowed. Europe watched in awe. Yet only a few centuries later, that empire was no longer the world's economic leader. What went wrong? Strangely, this wasn't an isolated case. History is filled with resource-rich nations that never achieved lasting prosperity. Meanwhile, places with almost nothing rose to the top of the global economy. If resources don't create wealth, what does? The answer isn't hidden inside gold mines. It's hidden in something so ordinary that we rarely notice it. Every morning, millions of people go to work, trade, invent, and solve problems for one another. Together, they power an invisible machine that drives the global economy, even though most of us never see it. For centuries, kings believed wealth could be conquered. Capture more gold than your rivals, and your nation would become richer. That belief fueled endless wars. But there was one thing they failed to see. They were only moving gold from one place to another, not creating new wealth. Imagine two islands. One is filled with gold, but no one knows how to build tools or trade. The other has no gold at all, yet its people cooperate, specialize, and solve problems together. Years later, which island would be wealthier? The answer may surprise you. The first secret isn't gold, it's productivity. A farmer grows more food. An engineer builds bridges faster. A doctor treats more patients. When each person becomes slightly more productive, society moves forward by giant steps. But how does productivity increase so dramatically? The answer comes from an unexpected place, a tiny pin factory in the 18th century. It looked ordinary, yet it contained an idea that would eventually transform the entire global economy. Inside that tiny factory, no worker made an entire pin. One pulled the wire, another cut it, another sharpened the tip, another attached the head. It sounded repetitive and ordinary, but together, those tiny tasks produced something extraordinary. A single worker could produce only a handful of pins in one day, but once the work was divided into specialized tasks, the factory could produce tens of thousands. Human strength hadn't changed. Human cooperation had. It turns out wealth doesn't grow because people own more resources. It grows because they create more value from the same resources. That's the difference between owning a gold mine and building an economy. But one enormous question still remains. If everyone pursues their own interests, why doesn't the entire system collapse? What allows millions of strangers to cooperate every day without even knowing one another? The answer may be even more surprising than the pin itself. Think about the local baker in your neighborhood. Every morning, they wake before sunrise to prepare fresh bread. They don't do it to make the whole city happier. They do it to earn a living. Yet that personal goal pushes them to bake better bread, offer better service, and keep prices competitive. The same pattern appears almost everywhere. A restaurant wants more customers. A car company wants to sell more vehicles. A technology firm wants to build a better product than its competitors. Nobody forces them to innovate. They do it because customers always have a choice. That's the paradox. When millions of people pursue their own interests within a competitive system governed by clear rules, they unintentionally create benefits for society as a whole. The outcome is never perfect, but competition constantly encourages innovation and higher productivity. Suddenly, every piece of the puzzle fits together. Wealth doesn't come from gold. It doesn't magically emerge from oil or diamonds. It is created when people are free to cooperate, specialize, and continuously solve problems for one another. That is the real engine of prosperity. But today's world looks very different. Artificial intelligence writes code. Robots assemble products. Machines perform tasks once reserved for humans. So do ideas born more than 2 centuries ago still apply in the age of AI? Perhaps the answer is yes. AI creates no value on its own unless people decide which problems are worth solving. Powerful tools can multiply productivity, but only when combined with human creativity, cooperation, and new ideas. Technology changes rapidly, but the nature of value does not. Looking back, perhaps the greatest secret was never gold, silver, or oil. Those are only raw materials. Real wealth comes from transforming resources into value through knowledge, creativity, and cooperation. And that's a resource every nation can choose to develop. So perhaps we should replace our opening question. Instead of asking how many natural resources a nation owns, we should ask how well it enables people to learn, create, and cooperate. Because lasting prosperity is not mined from the ground. It is built in the minds and actions of people. And that may be the most enduring legacy of this remarkable idea.